It was a crisp December morning in New York City. The city was alive with its usual hustle and bustle, the streets filled with people rushing to their destinations, wrapped in their winter coats and scarves. The air was cold, but the energy of the city was palpable, as if it had a life of its own. The air was filled with the usual cacophony of car horns and distant sirens. Street vendors called out to passers-by, and the aroma of fresh coffee and roasted chestnuts wafted through the air. It was a typical morning in the city that never sleeps, but on this day, a different sound cut through the noise. A gunshot. The sharp crack echoed off the buildings, causing pedestrians to stop in their tracks and look around in confusion and fear. The bustling city street was suddenly filled with a sense of dread. Brian Thompson, CEO of United Healthcare, lay dead on the pavement. His lifeless body was surrounded by a growing crowd of onlookers, their faces a mix of shock and curiosity. Police quickly cordoned off the area, trying to piece together what had just happened. His tailored suit and expensive watch couldn't protect him from the bullet that ended his life. The symbols of his success and wealth lay tarnished on the cold, hard ground, a stark contrast to the vibrant life he once led. The shooter? Luigi Mangione, a 26-year-old nobody with a head full of anger and a Twitter feed full of despair. He had no criminal record, no history of violence, just a deep-seated resentment that had finally boiled over. His social media post painted a picture of a man at the end of his rope, lashing out at a world he felt had wronged him. The news spread like wildfire. Within minutes, the story was trending on social media, and news outlets were scrambling to cover the shocking event. Reporters descended on the scene, their cameras capturing every detail, every reaction. Thompson, a man who held the fate of millions in his hands as the head of one of the largest health insurance companies in America, was gone. His decisions had impacted countless lives, and now, his own life had been abruptly and violently ended. But instead of the expected outpouring of grief, something strange happened. The reactions were mixed, with some expressing shock and sadness, while others seemed almost indifferent. Social media was abuzz with debates and discussions as people tried to make sense of the tragedy. People weren't just mourning Thompson's death, they were celebrating Mangione's actions. In a twist that no one could have predicted, the shooter was being hailed as a hero by some, a symbol of resistance against a system they believed was broken. The city, and indeed the nation, was left grappling with the complex and conflicting emotions stirred by this unexpected turn of events. To understand the reaction to Thompson's murder, you need to understand the simmering rage that many Americans feel toward the healthcare system. This rage isn't just about the high costs, it's about the feeling of being trapped in a system that prioritizes profits over people. It's about the countless stories of individuals who have had to make impossible choices, and the collective frustration of a nation that feels betrayed by those who are supposed to care for them. In a country where a single hospital visit can bankrupt a family, where the fear of medical debt looms large over every household, the stakes are incredibly high. Families are often left to navigate a labyrinth of bills, insurance claims, and medical jargon, all while dealing with the stress of illness. The emotional and financial toll can be devastating, leading to a sense of hopelessness and despair. Where life-saving medication costs more than a mortgage payment, the situation becomes even more dire. People are forced to ration their medication, skip doses, or go without entirely. This isn't just a financial issue, it's a matter of life and death. The exorbitant costs of medication can lead to severe health complications, hospitalizations, and even fatalities. The pharmaceutical industry's pricing practices have left many feeling exploited and powerless. And where people are forced to choose between their health and their financial security, the true cost of the healthcare system becomes apparent. It's not just about the money, it's about the sacrifices people have to make. Parents skipping their own medications to afford their children's, elderly individuals cutting back on essentials to pay for prescriptions, and families going into debt to cover medical expenses. These choices are heartbreaking and highlight the deep flaws in the system. Healthcare isn't just a system, it's a loaded weapon. It's a source of immense stress and anxiety for millions of Americans. The overworked healthcare workers, the endless paperwork, the constant battle with insurance companies, all of these factors contribute to a sense of being overwhelmed and defeated. The system, as it stands, feels adversarial rather than supportive, leaving many to fend for themselves in times of need. For Luigi Mangione, this wasn't just an abstract problem, it was personal. His mother, a diabetic, had her insulin rationed by insurance companies more concerned with profits than her well-being. Luigi watched helplessly as his mother's health deteriorated, knowing that the system designed to help her was failing her instead. This personal tragedy fueled his anger and determination to fight for change. His mother, a diabetic, had her insulin rationed by insurance companies more concerned with profits than her well-being. This wasn't an isolated incident, it was a reflection of a broader issue. The rationing of essential medication is a common practice, leaving many patients vulnerable and at risk. The emotional toll on families is immense, as they watch their loved ones suffer due to corporate greed. Her story, sadly, isn't unique. It's a story that resonates with millions of Americans who have faced similar struggles. The healthcare system's failures are not just statistics, they are real people with real lives. Each story adds to the growing chorus of voices demanding change, highlighting the urgent need for reform. It's a story repeated millions of times across America in every city and town. The faces may be different, but the experiences are strikingly similar. Long waits in crowded emergency rooms, the anxiety of unpaid bills, and the constant fear of what the future holds. These shared experiences create a sense of solidarity among those affected, fueling a collective desire for change. A story of desperation, fear, and ultimately, anger. This anger is not just a reaction to individual hardships, but a response to a system that feels fundamentally broken. The protests, the outcries, and the demands for change are all manifestations of a deep-seated frustration with a system that has let so many down. The price of life in America has become too high, and the call for reform is louder than ever. Hours after the shooting, a rambling manifesto appeared online, allegedly written by Mangione. In it, he railed against the injustice of the American healthcare system, calling it a rigged game designed to benefit the wealthy and powerful at the expense of the sick and vulnerable. Was it the desperate plea of a man pushed to the edge, or a dangerous call to arms for others who felt equally disenfranchised? Whatever it was, it resonated. The hashtag #MakeThemPay began trending on Twitter, a chilling reflection of the anger and frustration simmering beneath the surface. The internet, never one to shy away from a spectacle, exploded. Memes mocking Thompson's death and lionizing Mangione as a folk hero flooded social media. Dark humor became a coping mechanism, a way to process the absurdity of a system that seemed to value profit over human life. But beneath the jokes lay a disturbing truth. A significant portion of the public saw a vigilante murderer not as a criminal but as an avenging angel. Their anger at the healthcare system was so profound, so deeply ingrained, that violence, it seemed, had become a justifiable response. Section 5. When is violence justified? The ethics of anger. The celebration of Mangione's actions, however misguided, forces us to confront an uncomfortable question. When does anger at injustice become a license for violence? Is there ever a point where the ends justify the means? It's easy to condemn violence, to call for peace and understanding. But when people feel trapped, hopeless, and ignored, when their pleas for help are met with silence or indifference, the lines between right and wrong can become blurred. Section 6. Healthcare versus warfare. Profiting from misery. Some have drawn chilling parallels between the healthcare industry and the military-industrial complex. Both, they argue, profit from misery. One thrives on war and conflict, the other on sickness and despair. Is it any wonder, they ask, that people are angry, that they feel like they're being exploited by a system that sees them as nothing more than walking wallets, ripe for the picking? Section 7. Wanted, dead or alive, but mostly dead. The chilling trend of wanted posters. In a chilling echo of the Wild West, wanted posters featuring the faces of insurance executives began appearing online. Thompson's face, marked with a large X, became a symbol of the public's fury. While few believe these posters represent a genuine threat, they highlight a dangerous undercurrent in the public's reaction, the dehumanization of those perceived as enemies. When we reduce individuals to caricatures of greed and villainy, it becomes easier to justify violence against them. Section 8. The Trial of the Century. Luigi Mangione, a name that has become synonymous with controversy, now faces a jury of his peers. The courtroom is tense, the air thick with anticipation. As Mangione awaits trial, the nation holds its breath. News reporters from every major network are camped outside the courthouse, eager to capture every moment of this high-stakes drama. The crowd outside is a mix of supporters and detractors, each group vocal in their beliefs. Will he be vilified as a cold-blooded killer or hailed as a folk hero? The public is deeply divided. On one side, protesters hold signs demanding justice for Mangione, believing he acted out of necessity. On the other, there are those who see him as a vigilante, a man who took the law into his own hands. The outcome of this trial has the potential to be a powder keg, further inflaming an already volatile situation. The gavel strikes, signaling the start of what could be one of the most consequential trials in recent history. The tension is palpable, both inside the courtroom and out. The prosecution will paint Mangione as a dangerous extremist, a threat to society. They will argue that his actions were premeditated, driven by a radical ideology that has no place in a civilized society. The prosecutor's voice is firm, unwavering, as they lay out their case. The defense, however, will likely argue that he was a desperate man driven to the brink by a callous and uncaring system. They will portray Mangione as a victim of circumstance, a man who saw no other way out. The defense attorney speaks passionately, appealing to the jury's sense of empathy and justice. The jury, faced with this impossible choice, will have to decide not just Mangione's fate, but perhaps the future of American healthcare itself. Their decision could set a precedent, influencing how similar cases are handled in the future. The weight of this responsibility is evident on their faces as they deliberate, each member deep in thought. As the clock ticks, the world watches and waits. The anxiety in the gallery is almost tangible, a collective holding of breath as everyone awaits the jury's decision. This trial is more than just a legal proceeding, it's a reflection of the nation's values and the direction it will take in the years to come. The judge presides over the case with a stern demeanor, aware of the trial's significance. Every word, every gesture is scrutinized, as the courtroom becomes a microcosm of the larger societal debate. The trial of Luigi Mangione is not just about one man, but about the principles of justice, fairness, and the rule of law. Section 9. The long road ahead, seeking solutions, demanding change. The tragic death of Brian Thompson and the subsequent fallout have exposed the deep fissures in American society. The healthcare system, broken and unsustainable, has become a breeding ground for anger and despair. While violence is never the answer, it's a symptom of a disease that runs much deeper. We need more than just condemnation, we need solutions. We need a healthcare system that prioritizes people over profit, a system that values life over the bottom line. The time for talk is over, the time for action is now.
So hit that subscribe button, ring the bell for notifications, and let's turn the page on a new adventure together. Get ready to experience books like never before, only on VBook 360. Like, comment, and share to support the channel and keep the video magic alive. Thank you for stopping by. And remember, every video has a story, and every story deserves to be shared. See you in the next video.